What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the 6th installment for What If Deku Was a Spy? If you guys go on to enjoy this video just like the rest, make sure to slap a like on this video, and also go back to part 1 and slap a like on that as well. It's gonna help out a ton with the algorithm, and it just helps out your boy so much. That said, in case you guys haven't heard, I have a membership now. You can join to get early access to videos like this, which this one was scheduled for about 3 days before you guys get it, so yeah. But anyways though, let's get started.
Hey Ross, sauce it up.
Hey, yo, what did this man just say? From here, Deku would look up as he would see Muscular in his giant muscular form already. As Deku sees this, he would go to grab one of his weapons, but notice he doesn't have a suit on or any of his weapons on. And so he would look towards Koda, who at this point is pretty much frozen in fear. And Deku would look back up at Muscular as he would just be thinking, this man's sus, but I'm not about to beat this dude. Look at him. He has muscles on his muscles. And so Deku pretty much looks to the side of the cliff and thinks to himself that he needs to get out of here. And so what he would do is tell Koda, Koda, use your quirk, shoot him now. And so Koda would shoot his water blaster. No, actually, Koda would not be able to do anything. Koda would literally just sit there too scared to move. And Deku would jump in as he grabs Koda out of getting crushed by Muscular's fist. And from here, he throws him on his back as he begins running down the mountain as fast as he possibly can, with Muscular chasing after him every step of the way. Deku trying his absolute hardest not to get hit or hurt Koda whatsoever. And eventually, as soon as Muscular's fist was actually about to come down on Deku on one of the sharp turns, Deku would think to himself that this is it. This dude is legit about to kill him. Like Deku, yeah, he has all this cool tactics, but it's not going to work against somebody like that. Deku understands his limits. Without weapons, he's not about to beat somebody with a quirk like this, a physical brawler type. And so Deku's about to get crushed by the fist when Koda says, get away! And he shoots him. He says, you killed my parents! And Muscular has to cover his face and eye as, you know, he pretty much gets thrown off guard for a second, just long enough for Deku to run down the rest of the mountain. Not all of it, but, you know, get a couple second head start. And then from there, rush to where Aizawa was at, as he just finished defeating the Dabi twice clone. And so once that happens, Deku would look towards Aizawa as he says, use your eraser quirk now! And Eraserhead would immediately activate it as he looks towards the direction of the forest, and Muscular comes running out, guns blazing with his muscles huge. As suddenly, they go away. Eraserhead's quirk ends up working, and it actually ends up catching him off guard. And so from here, what Deku ends up doing is essentially just leaving Koda there with him and telling Aizawa that he's going to handle the rest. He has other things to take care of. And so from here, he would run off as Aizawa is simply forced to say, hey kid, come back. But Deku wouldn't listen. He would simply run off, and Aizawa would just scoff as he would have to fight against Muscular. He would end up defeating him since Muscular relies too much on his quirk, and I don't believe that he has any physical, like, I don't think he could beat Aizawa in a hand-to-hand combat fight. So Aizawa ends up clapping man's cheeks and says, looks like I got lucky tonight myself. No, I'm totally kidding. But seriously though, Aizawa would end up defeating Muscular. And so from here, Deku would actually end up running into the place as he would end up grabbing his hero suit as well as his weapons, telling Aizawa that he needed to get this stuff, as he walks outside to see the big lug on the ground, just completely passed out. And so Aizawa would look at Deku's direction as he would say, I need to go save the other students. And from here, he would rush straight into the forest with one goal in mind: find the traitor. That's all Deku is thinking at this moment. Just find the traitor. If anything is clear on this night, it's that the traitor definitely has to be within either the teachers that are present here or class 1A or 1B. So Deku Realizing this, would rush straight into the forest, trying to find if the traitor is going to reveal himself on this night. And when he would run into the forest, he wouldn't end up running into Tokiyami or Dupley Arms or any of those things, and instead, he would end up running into a scene of Dabi, almost about to close in on Aoyama, who was holding his breath and hiding behind some bushes. Deku would see this from afar as he would hide behind a tree with his back against it, thinking to himself that this is it. He's about to find out if Aoyama is the traitor. If he ends up touching him or looking at him, he'll have his answer. But nothing. It's as if Dabi saw who was behind there and simply walked away, acting as if he didn't notice. But one thing Deku would have done with his deductive reasoning skills is notice. He noticed what happened. Dabi clearly caught sight of Aoyama, who covered his mouth and pretended to act as if he didn't notice him, and from here Dabi simply left the area. After Dabi was gone, Deku jumped in and he actually ended up grabbing Aoyama by the shirt, saying, "It's you, isn't it? You're the traitor." And Aoyama would look at him and say, What are you talking about?" But Deku would say, "It's clear as day. He clearly looked at you and walked away. There's a reason for that. You're the mole, aren't you? That secret spot that you went to in the USJ, that was you telling the villains where we were, wasn't it? You're the traitor. You're the mole. Someone had to tell them about where we're going, and the only people that were informed was Class 1B, A, and the teachers alike. So it has to be either you or an invisible girl. I ended up tracking you down, and now you're gonna pay for what you did." As he just looks at Aoyama, who at this point starts tearing up, saying that he's sorry, and he would shoot his laser beam right at Deku's direction. But Deku would get blasted back as he falls onto the ground and then picks himself right back up, telling Aoyama that he's not going to get away. He points his gun straight at Aoyama's legs as he lets it rip, and the bullets would go straight through his feet, causing Aoyama not to be able to run anymore. Deku would rush towards Aoyama as he would kick him into a tree and then proceed to pound on his head as Aoyama just is laying down on the ground in the fetal position, saying that he doesn't understand, he had no choice. But Deku would say to save it for the judge, as he then knocks him out with a kick to the head, and from here he would call upon the Hero Commission, who at this point would end up showing up and helping with the taking out of the rest of the villains and also reconnaissance and things such as that. That said, this is when they would proceed to drain all of the information possible that they could out of Aoyama, and from here he would pretty much end up being taken away by the Hero Commission themselves. As the following day, Deku would be congratulated for completing his mission in record time. The Hero Commission would inform him that since he passed this mission, he's going to be going on many others, and he's going to be promoted in terms of like the amount of asset that he is to the Hero Commission. And so Deku would nod, bow down, and leave the room. As from here, it would be announced that Deku is leaving UA. His resignation papers would come in, and Deku would never go back to the high school, ever telling them what had happened that day, since it's no longer his problem. Of course he would miss it, but what could he do? He can't change the way that things are, for now. And so, I'm just going to be covering the brief changes that happened to the story. Number 1, Dupley Arms gets heavily injured by Tokiyami's quirk, and once Tokiyami's about to kill him, he finally is able to restrain himself, as he has to be in the hospital for months. And with Deku resigning from UA, once all was said and done, he never actually ends up finding out about the fact that Bakugo was actually taken by the villains, because that ended up staying constant. Tokiyami, he was not. And Deku, like I said, after reporting to the Hero Commission, this was not really briefed on any of the things that happened after him completing his mission. And so he never finds out about Bakugo being taken, so that never turns out to be one of his concerns. That said, that's really the only changes that happened. I mean, other than Aizawa fighting against Muscular and him being the one to take him out, nothing else really changes too much in the story. So I'm going to be continuing on with Deku being summoned by the Hero Commission the very next day. They would have his next mission set out for him. The Hero Commission would have ended up finding out about All Might's situation, not in terms of All for One and his secret of, being a successor, but in terms of the sting operation to get Bakugo back. UA school would have been in complete shambles with the media, seeing as they right now are going through what they would have done in the original, trying to have parents accept the students to go back with dorms and stuff like that, and that whole system would begin to be implemented in UA High. However, simultaneously, the heroes would have been planning a break-in to pretty much save Katsuki Bakugo, with Aizawa stating in the media that Katsuki, he's too hard-headed to be brought into with the villains or be changed, that he'll be brought back soon enough, and that, you know, they could count on it. And so from here, Deku would actually be reported to in terms of what finally happened now, with the Hero Commission tasking him with a brand new mission, this one to kill All For One. And from here, Deku's eyes would widen, thinking to himself, what? I couldn't possibly. But the Hero Commission would hold one hand out and say that he needs to wait just a second before he gives his answer. Keep in mind, he has no choice in the matter. They would walk out with a giant sniper rifle as they would hold it up to Deku and tell him that this weapon here is the most powerful sniper rifle in the world, and it's 100% silent. If he shoots it at All For One at just the right moment, there's a chance he could kill him without even having to fight All For One. All he needs is the hero's distraction, and with Deku's precise aim, he should definitely be able to get the job done. He's going to be located on top of a tower, like miles away from the area, and Deku would nod, saying that he'll do his best. The Hero Commission saying that they hope so because his life is on the line. And so the operation would go down just like in canon, with All Might saying, "Pizza's here," and then busting through the wall with all of the heroes and, you know, pretty much taking out the League of Villains. And so once this happens, All For One teleports his goons away, with Bakugo running out right in the nick of the moment, not actually being saved by Class 1A, but him just literally leaving, finding the first moment to escape and taking it. And All Might's fight against All For One would begin, with it going exactly as it does in the original, seeing as Deku isn't exactly personally involved. That said, what ends up happening from here is basically All For One would go on to tell All Might about Shigaraki's involvement with the League, and him being Nana Shimura's grandson, talking up a speech, monologuing, standing still for just the right shot for Luna, or Deku, or Agent 9. He would be briefed in by his comms as he would say, "I have a shot, I'm taking it." From here, he would aim his weapon as he would shoot the trigger, and from here the bullet would fly miles away as it would penetrate through the skull of All For One, and he would fall straight to the ground, with All Might watching in complete disbelief as the man that he had been chasing almost half of his life die in front of his eyes. He would fall to his knees, and then his body would go cold and limp. All For One was defeated. All Might would then abruptly go on to stand up and say, "I did it," as he holds his fist up into the air and proceeds to stand atop of everything, with the media simply saying that it was All Might who defeated him with, you know, a special attack that, you know, it ended up working or something like that. And the media just kind of runs away with that story, and that's kind of the cover up for All For One's death. And so what ends up happening from here is, as soon as Deku finds out that he did it, he is shocked. I mean, in a society with heroes and quirks and stuff like that, there's never been need for guns. But now Deku understands just how potent, how powerful, how much guns are still a huge thing in this society. With a gun, anybody could truly be killed, even All Might. A bullet like that with All Might's guard down could have completed that job as well. And so Deku would now be more weary about weaponry and stuff like that. And so the student of Katsuki Bakugo would be taken back to the heroes, where he would end up going back into Class 1A. And from here, Deku would end up catching the attention of a bunch of people who were all wondering what happened to him. But people would just assume that he was one of the people who ended up leaving. The media would go crazy with that story, saying that the one quirkless kid who was once part of Class 1A and the winner of the sports festival ended up leaving UA after the events of the Force training arc. And so the media just ends up having a pretty like down day with a bunch of quirkless people saying that, you know, that's too bad. But Deku, seeing as he's not even in UA anymore, doesn't look the way that the thumbnail does. Now Deku has a different look. Now he actually has his green hair, his green eyes, and Deku has one thing on his mind. He wants to go see his mother. And so he asked Hawks, you know that favor I asked you for? Help me do it now. Hawks, I want to see my mom. Hawks would look at Deku as he would say, your parents? And Deku would say, yeah, I mean, I've missed them. I just want to know if they're okay. That's all I want. I just want to see them from afar. That's it. Hawks would look to him as he would say, I mean, I guess it's an easy task to do then. Let's get it done. As he would pat him on the back, telling him that he's still such a softie and that even though he has become more of a hard ass now, he's still the same kid deep down. With Deku saying, how couldn't he be? His childhood was stripped from him by this evil hero commission. And even though this ended up doing more good than bad for the world, with All For One finally being taken care of and the mole in UA being outed, all Hawks has to do now is pretty much take down the League of Villains. And that's the question that Hawks was going to be getting down to asking Deku pretty soon. Will he help him with the takedown of the League of Villains' remaining 7 members? And after that, the rest of the league will disband once the next couple of leaders or the top men are disposed of. And so Deku and Hawks would pretty much end up doing a little bit of undercover research, with Hawks actually telling Deku that there's usually one day where the Hero Commission doesn't put too much attention onto them, and that's the day that they could take this opportunity to. The day would be like daytime. They usually don't pay too much attention to them in daytime and also on a specific day. And so he would take this opportunity to actually go to his old living house where it was just an apartment. Deku would watch as he sees Zenko walk into the house with Hisashi, a smile on all of their faces, and a small little girl, his sister. He wouldn't know the name, but he would just see the green hair. She looked so much like Inko. A smile would appear on Deku's face as he would say, I'm glad you moved on, Mom. I don't know what they told you, but I'm just glad you're happy here. And I'm glad that I was able to finally, I guess you could say, become, well, kind of a hero. He would think to himself and think back to all of the dreams that he had as a little kid when he wanted to be just like All Might, and now having the opportunity to meet him, it was as if that all was stripped away from him. Him believing that All Might would come to save him one day never happened. And so Deku's hero aspirations and kind of overhypement of All Might dies down, along with Deku's hopes to be saved someday. It never happened, and so Deku believes things to be different than what he originally had. And so Deku was about to leave, but he just wanted to say one thing to his mom, that he was still there, that he missed her, and that he loved her. And so Deku would decide to knock on the door. And when he would do so, he would simply just look at Inko in the eyes as she drops everything that she had in her hand and says, Izuku? Like for part 7!